Did you know that life's most profound lessons often come wrapped in its hardest struggles? Yes, those dark moments that feel almost unbearable, those truths that cut the deepest. They are ironically the ones that can heal us, set us free, and lead us to genuine happiness. A paradox, isn't it? But that's life for you, my friend. A constant dance of highs and lows. One moment it knocks you to your knees, the next it lifts you to the skies. Yet, let's be honest, most people prefer to cushion themselves with comfortable illusions rather than face the cold, hard truth. Why? Because confronting reality is painful, incredibly so. And I don't blame them. Sometimes it's easier to navigate life without acknowledging the truths that pierce straight to the soul. But is that how you want to live? Drifting blindly, deceiving yourself through this grand mystery we call life? If your answer is no, then stay with me, because today I'll share 12 life-altering truths passed down by our Stoic friends. Truths we must embrace if we truly want to live a fulfilled life, no matter the hardships we may endure along the way. So tell me, are you ready to confront these uncomfortable truths head-on? To unlock their power and transform your life? Let's dive in. But first, let me tell you a story that perfectly illustrates why accepting life's hardest truths can change everything. It's the story of Anna, a woman who, like many of us, dreamed of a different life. On the surface, Anna had everything that should have made her happy: a stable job, a lovely home, and supportive friends. But deep inside, an unshakable emptiness lingered. It was as if her life, though picture-perfect to outsiders, wasn't aligned with what she truly wanted. To fill that void, Anna buried herself in distractions. Whenever she felt that familiar tightness in her chest, she went shopping. She signed up for every trendy new class, scrolled endlessly through social media searching for inspiration, and even hosted impromptu dinner parties just to keep herself busy. Anything to avoid the deafening silence of her own thoughts. And while these distractions worked, briefly, by the time night fell and the world grew quiet, the emptiness always returned. It whispered to her, reminding her that something was missing, that a crucial piece of her life's puzzle was yet to be found. But what was it? She had no idea. Each day she woke up early, went to work, and powered through the day. But something felt off. On sleepless nights, she would stare at the ceiling, wondering, is this it? Is this the life I truly want? Yet, she always managed to silence that voice. Don't complain, Anna. There are people with far less than you, she reminded herself. Then one day, while walking through the park to clear her mind, Anna noticed an elderly woman sitting alone on a bench, writing in a small journal. Intrigued, she approached her. After a few moments of conversation, Anna learned that the woman's name was Carmen, and that the journal she held wasn't just any notebook. It was a collection of the most important lessons she had learned over her 80 years of life. Curious, Anna asked, "What's the most important lesson you've written in there?" Carmen closed the journal, held it firmly in her hands, and said, "The truth, even when it hurts, is the only path to freedom." She took a deep breath before continuing. "For years, I lied to myself. I convinced myself I was happy because I had everything I was supposed to want: a marriage, a good job, stability. But do you know what, Anna? Decades passed before I finally admitted I wasn't happy, that I was merely following a script someone else had written for me." Carmen paused, locking eyes with Anna before adding, "Don't let the same thing happen to you. Life doesn't wait. As long as you avoid the truths that make you uncomfortable, you will remain stuck. But if you face them, if you embrace them, I promise you, the freedom you will find is greater than any fear you feel right now." That conversation lingered in Anna's mind for days, until finally she made a decision. She would stop running from the truth. She admitted to herself that she hated her job, that she had spent years obsessing over what others thought of her, that she had never pursued her dreams because she was terrified of failure. And in that moment of painful clarity, her true transformation began. Now let me ask you, how many times have you told yourself everything is fine, even when you knew deep down it wasn't? How many times have you avoided facing truths that, while painful, might hold the key to the life you truly desire? Today, we're going to explore 12 uncomfortable truths that, though difficult to accept, have the power to set you free and lead you to the happiness you deserve. Are you ready to face them? Before we dive in, if this message resonates with you, I invite you to engage. Share your thoughts in the comments. Are you ready to embrace the truths that will set you free? Or simply type, Stoic at heart. Let's build a community where we grow together, where we push each other toward wisdom and strength. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. Not everyone will accept you. The first truth you must embrace is this: not everyone will accept you, and that's okay. It was never meant to be any other way. At first, this can be hard to swallow. Let's be real, no one enjoys the idea of not being liked. We're wired to seek belonging. But the reality is, no matter what you do, some people will judge, misunderstand, or reject you. And you know what? That's their problem, not yours. Real freedom begins when you stop trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. We all fear rejection. It's natural, it's human. We go out of our way to be kind, to fit in, to meet others' expectations. But here's the hard truth. No matter how much you try, there will always be someone who doesn't like you. And the best thing you can do? Stop worrying about it. Now be honest with yourself. How many times have you held back your true thoughts just to avoid conflict? How often have you hidden a part of yourself, afraid of not belonging? Think about that time you nodded in agreement when, deep down, every fiber of your being wanted to scream, "No, I don't agree." Or that forced smile during a meeting where everyone nodded along and you felt pressured to do the same, going with the flow even when it didn't sit right with you. We've all been there. Molding ourselves to fit in, shaping our words and actions for acceptance. But let me ask you this: is it really worth losing yourself just to please others? The Stoics had a powerful lesson about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations that we cannot control others' opinions, but we can control how we respond to them. Living in constant fear of what others think is like being a ship without a compass, drifting aimlessly in the winds of other people's expectations. But when you stand firm in who you are, you become the captain of your own life, steering your course with purpose, even if some don't approve. I know, it's not easy. It can feel lonely when you step away from the crowd. That's why you should start small. Reflect on what truly matters to you. What principles are so important that you'd never betray them, no matter what? Let those values be your guide, your unwavering compass. Because when you're anchored in your own truth, you no longer need external validation. Here's something to practice. Say this to yourself whenever doubt creeps in. I can't please everyone, and that's okay. At first, it might feel forced, like an empty phrase, but over time, it will sink in, and little by little, it will set you free. When you stop chasing universal approval, you liberate yourself. You begin to attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are, not some watered-down version of yourself designed to fit in. Your relationships become more authentic. Your sense of self grows stronger, and most importantly, you start living with integrity, aligned with the values that actually matter. And here's the best part: the right people, the ones who truly belong in your life, will stand by you without you needing to change a single thing. Isn't that a relief? 2. You're not as important as you think. Oof! Brace yourself, my friend. This one stings. You're not as important as you think. And before you take that as an insult, hear me out. We all fall into the trap of believing that the world is watching our every move, scrutinizing every word, every stumble, every awkward moment, forever etching our mistakes into their memory. But here's the truth: that only happens in your head. In reality, most people are far too consumed with their own lives to pay that much attention to yours. Tell me, has this ever happened to you? You made a mistake in front of others. Maybe you misspoke during a meeting, tripped on the sidewalk, or accidentally sent an email to the wrong person. And afterward, you spent hours, maybe days, obsessing over it. How embarrassing, you thought. They must think I'm an idiot. They're probably laughing about it right now. Well, here's some good news. How long do you think they actually remembered that moment? Exactly, they probably didn't. Or if they noticed at all, they moved on within seconds, too busy dealing with their own worries to dwell on yours. Picture this. You're at the grocery store and mistakenly stand in the wrong checkout line. Someone snaps at you to move, and for the rest of the day, you replay the moment, convinced they saw you as a complete mess. But guess what? They don't even remember your face. They were stressed, distracted, wrapped up in their own world. Or think about that email mishap at work. You imagine your coworkers whispering about it behind your back, replaying your mistake over and over. Reality check. No one cared. They were too preoccupied with their own responsibilities to give it a second thought. See where I'm going with this? What feels like a life-defining moment to you is barely a blip in the minds of others. And this isn't just a comforting idea, it's backed by science. A study by Cornell University known as the spotlight effect proved that people tend to vastly overestimate how much others notice them. We feel as if we're constantly under a spotlight, but in reality, most people are too caught up in their own struggles to be thinking about you at all. The Stoics knew this well. Epictetus taught that we should focus only on what's within our control. And let me tell you how others perceive you. That's completely out of your control. Do you know what this means? It means you can finally stop carrying the exhausting burden of trying to be perfect for everyone. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Own this truth and set yourself free. Because real freedom begins when you stop worrying about what others think of you. So the next time you catch yourself wondering, what are they thinking about me? Pause and remind yourself, they're probably not thinking about you at all. What's the most likely thing they're actually thinking about right now? More often than not, the answer will be something related to their own problems, not you. And if you still need a little more reassurance, remember this mantra. What others think of me doesn't define who I am. When you accept that you're not the center of the universe, you free yourself from the constant pressure of living up to non-existent expectations. You give yourself permission to make mistakes, to be your authentic self, and to focus on what truly matters, your values, your goals, and the relationships that are worth your time. Because in the end, what defines you isn't how much others notice you, but how much meaning you give to your own life. 3. Life won't always be fair. Have you ever felt like life owes you something? Maybe you thought that being kind, working hard, or giving it your all would guarantee things would go your way. But then reality hits. Someone less qualified gets the promotion. A dishonest person achieves their goal, or your dreams, no matter how hard you chase them, always seem just out of reach. It's tough, I know. But here's the truth. Life won't always be fair. And the sooner you accept it, the stronger you'll become. Is it fair that the powerful lion eats the injured zebra first? I don't know if it's fair, but my friend, that's life. That's nature. All we can do is accept it. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it clearly. Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do, and you will find peace. This teaching isn't just about accepting reality as it is. It's about letting go of that constant internal struggle against what you cannot control. Because in the end, the justice we seek in the world around us won't always match the version we have in our minds. Think of it this way. Life is like an unexpected storm. Sometimes you're walking under a clear blue sky, and out of nowhere, raindrops start falling, followed by thunder that shakes everything around you. You can curse the sky, shout at the wind, and wonder why you didn't bring an umbrella, but none of that changes the fact that you're wet. Or you can open your arms, let the rain soak you, and learn to enjoy the water. That, though cold, also nourishes the earth. Let me tell you about my friend Reuben. Reuben was a man with a huge heart. He always helped his friends whenever he could, worked tirelessly, and never said no to someone in need. He believed with all his soul that if he gave his best, life would reward him. But one day everything changed. The company he had worked for years shut down without warning, leaving him unemployed. To make matters worse, some of the friends he had supported through tough times disappeared when he needed help. Reuben felt betrayed and, above all, lost. "It's not fair," he repeated over and over. After some time reflecting, Reuben remembered something he had read from a wise man named Marcus Aurelius. He realized that he couldn't control what life threw at him, but he could control how he responded to it. Instead of staying stuck in resentment, he began looking for ways to adapt. He learned new skills, reached out to others who could help, and little by little started rebuilding. And you know what? It wasn't easy, but Reuben discovered something he never expected. Adversity, though harsh, taught him more about himself than all his years of success ever did. In the end, he didn't find fairness in what happened, but he found growth that made him stronger. Life, my friend, isn't a chessboard where the rules are always clear. Sometimes you play with pieces you didn't ask for, on a terrain you didn't choose. You can complain about the unfairness of the game, or you can become a more strategic player using every piece, no matter how small. To move forward, if you feel like life has been unfair to you, ask yourself this: what can I do with what I have right now? It might not be what you hoped for, but it could also be the starting point for something you never imagined. Injustice isn't the end. It's a test that pushes you to grow, to find solutions, and to prove to yourself that you're stronger than you think. So next time, before you curse your luck, remember the words of Epictetus. Learn to see the storm as an opportunity to grow. Because while justice in the world may be imperfect, your ability to adapt and keep moving forward can be your greatest victory of all. 4. Time is your most valuable asset. It's time to face it. It's not money, it's not your car, it's not your house. Your most valuable asset is your time. Have you ever felt like the day just isn't long enough to get everything done? Between work, responsibilities, and distractions, it seems like time simply slips away. And here's the hard truth: time isn't infinite. Every minute that passes is a minute you'll never get back, and how you use it today will define who you become tomorrow. Time, my friend, is your greatest treasure, and learning to protect it can change your life. Seneca understood this thousands of years ago and left us a powerful reflection. It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Think about that. The problem isn't that the days are too short. It's how we waste our hours without even realizing it. Imagine your time as a bank account. Every morning you wake up with a fixed balance of 24 hours. You can't save what you don't spend, and at the end of the day, that balance is gone forever. Now ask yourself, what are you investing those hours in? Are they going toward things that truly matter, or toward activities that don't bring you any closer to your goals and dreams? Let me share something I experienced firsthand. For a long time I felt like I was constantly busy, but at the end of each day I'd realize I hadn't made any progress on what truly mattered to me. My hours slipped away, scrolling through my phone, watching videos I wouldn't even remember the next day, or procrastinating with any excuse I could find. I always thought tomorrow I'll have more energy, tomorrow will be different, but tomorrow would come and nothing changed. One day, as I sat at my desk, I looked at a list of things I'd been putting off for months. It felt like all that wasted time was weighing down on me. I decided I couldn't go on like this. That very night, I closed my social media apps, turned off the TV, and committed to working at least 30 minutes on a personal goal that truly mattered to me. At first, it was hard, I'll admit it. Distractions kept calling to me and I felt weak. But with each passing day, I felt more in control of my time. I didn't just make progress on my goal. That sense of purpose and ownership over my time transformed how I viewed my days. And you? How much of your time are you giving away to distractions that bring you nothing in return? It's time to accept that your time isn't limitless and start making more intentional decisions. If you want to protect your time, begin with 2 simple steps. First, learn to say no. Say no to commitments you don't care about. No to activities that don't fulfill you. Every no to what doesn't matter is a yes to what truly does. Second, set clear priorities. Ask yourself every morning, what's the most important thing I can do today to move closer to the life I want? And then do it. No excuses, no distractions. Time, like the water in a river, never stops flowing. You can't pause it or save it for later, but you can decide where to direct its current. So don't waste it waiting for the perfect moment, or letting it drift away in the flow of urgency. Remember Seneca's words, time lost is never recovered. Guard your time like the treasure it is. Because when you look back, what will truly matter isn't how much time you had, but how you lived it. What will you do with the hours you've been given today? The answer is in your hands. Let me know in the comments, do you feel like you're making the most of your days? What things steal your time without you even noticing? 5. Perfection doesn't exist. How many times have you held back from starting something because you didn't think you'd do it perfectly? That presentation you prepared but didn't dare to show at work. That uncomfortable conversation you only rehearsed 200 times in your head. That project you've been postponing for months because you don't feel ready. It happens to all of us. We convince ourselves that perfection is the bare minimum. But here's the truth. Perfection doesn't exist, and chasing it is like trying to catch the wind. Seneca reminded us centuries ago, if you wait for perfect conditions, you will never act. And the truth is, we spend our lives waiting for that perfect moment, that magical alignment when everything goes exactly as planned. But life, as you know, is neither fair nor perfect. It doesn't work that way. The sooner you accept this, my friend, the sooner you'll allow yourself to act, even if it's not perfect. A study conducted by Harvard University revealed that perfectionism not only delays productivity, but is also linked to high levels of anxiety and depression. Do you know why? When we obsess over making everything flawless, we sabotage ourselves. We freeze. We become our own harshest critics. And what could have been an opportunity to grow becomes an excuse not to try. Let me give you a real-life example. Jay. Perfectionism consumed him early in his career. For years, he turned down roles because he thought he wasn't prepared enough or wouldn't be good enough. That constant pursuit of perfection nearly led him to quit acting altogether. But everything changed when he accepted that he didn't need to be perfect. He just needed to be authentic. That decision not only allowed him to move forward, but also helped him create unforgettable performances that inspired millions. Do you see it now? Perfection is a trap. It doesn't just stop you from acting, it keeps you from becoming your best self. Now imagine you're a painter standing in front of a blank canvas. If you wait for the perfect colors, the ideal light, and the flawless brushstroke, you'll never make the first mark. But if you start, even with crooked lines and mismatched colors, the painting will begin to take shape. Life is the same. It's not about getting everything perfect from the start. It's about beginning, learning, and improving along the way. If you want to free yourself from the chains of perfectionism, here's something practical. Redefine what success means to you. Ask yourself, is it more important to do it perfectly or to simply do it? You'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish when you shift your focus from perfection to action. Also, practice self-compassion. Don't judge yourself for the mistakes you make. See them as part of the process. The next time something doesn't go as planned, ask yourself, what did I learn from this? Instead of punishing yourself, use those lessons as tools to grow. Perfection is a mirage, an unattainable ideal that steals the present from us. When you accept that perfection doesn't exist, you give yourself permission to be human, to try, to fail, and to rise again. And here's the funny thing. When you stop chasing perfection, you begin to find beauty in imperfection. So, let go of the need for everything to be flawless and embrace the opportunity to act. Right here, right now. Because perfection doesn't exist, but your ability to move forward does. What are you waiting for? Start today. 6. Pain is necessary. This might sound controversial, but hear me out. Pain is necessary. It's not something we like to accept. Most of us do everything we can to avoid it. We distract ourselves, bury it, pretend it's not there. But here's the truth. Without pain, there's no growth. Pain, though uncomfortable, has a purpose. It's the teacher that brings us life's deepest lessons. Psychologist Carl Jung put it this way: emotional pain doesn't go away until you've learned what it's meant to teach you. It's a powerful statement because it forces us to see pain not as an enemy, but as a messenger. If we ignore it, if we deny it, it only comes back stronger again and again until we finally face what we need to learn. Let me ask you something. Have you ever faced a loss, a failure, or a disappointment that felt impossible to overcome? Think back to that moment and how it made you feel. Did you use the pain to reflect, to change, to grow? Or did you try to bury it, dive into distractions, or deny it, pretending it didn't exist? Most of us choose the latter. Because let's be honest, facing pain is no easy task. But here's the key. Ignoring it doesn't make it go away. All it does is postpone it, allowing it to grow and hit even harder when it returns. Pain is like a seed buried in the ground. At first, it's nothing but darkness, pressure, and cold. But over time, if we let it do its work, that seed transforms into something else. Strong roots, a sturdy trunk, even flowers. Without that initial discomfort, without that pressure, growth wouldn't happen. The Stoics understood better than anyone the value of pain as a tool for transformation. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, lived a life full of challenges, wars, political betrayals, and the loss of several children. Despite this, he left us a powerful lesson. The fire burning within me turns every obstacle into fuel. Everything that affects me strengthens me. What a remarkable teaching. For Marcus Aurelius, pain wasn't something to avoid. It was something to use. It sharpened his mind, his character, and his spirit. His life wasn't easy, but through his struggles, he developed an inner strength that made him one of history's most admired leaders. And you? What are you doing with your pain? Are you using it as fuel to grow? Or are you setting it aside, hoping it will disappear on its own? The Stoics remind us that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Epictetus said, "What troubles a man is not the event itself, but his judgment of it." It's our perception of pain that determines whether we see it as a barrier or as an opportunity. Pain is the soul's alarm clock. It forces us to look at our lives with honesty and face the truth we fear the most. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but it's also the bridge to a stronger, more authentic life. So the next time life places you in a painful situation, don't run from it. Accept it. Face it head on. Ask it what it's here to teach you, and allow it to transform you. Because in the end, those hard truths that pain brings us are the ones that free us, the ones that change us. Are you ready to face them? 7. Happiness is a choice. Let me share a secret with you. One that can completely change the way you see your life. Here it is. Happiness isn't something random. It's not luck. It's a choice. What do you think about that idea? Does it sound strange? Too good to be true? This isn't just another feel-good phrase you'd find on the cover of the school planner. It goes much deeper than that. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts." And he was absolutely right. This isn't about denying problems or living in a bubble of fake optimism. It's about training your mind to focus, to find the good even in the middle of challenges, and to consciously choose where you place your attention. Let me put it another way. Imagine happiness as a compass. Each day you have the power to decide where it points. If you leave it to chance, it will spin aimlessly, drifting in every direction. But if you take control, you can direct it toward what truly matters, even when the path ahead isn't easy. That compass, my friend, is in your hands. But to use it, you need to be honest with yourself about your life and where you want to go. The problem is, accepting this truth is scary. It's much easier to believe that our happiness depends on circumstances, other people, or external events. Why? Because it takes the weight of responsibility off our shoulders. If we're not responsible, then we're not to blame if things don't go well, right? But here's the hard reality. As long as you let others control your compass, you'll never own your happiness. You'll live at the mercy of what happens around you, powerless to take control. Taking responsibility for your happiness isn't easy, but it's the only path to true freedom. Responsibility isn't a burden, it's a superpower. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were waiting for someone or something to make you happy? Maybe you thought a promotion, a relationship, or a magical vacation would fix everything. But when it finally arrived, did it really change anything? Maybe it brought a moment of joy, but then what? Everything goes back to the same place. Do you know why? Because deep down, it was never about those things. It was always about how you choose to live each day. For the Stoics, happiness didn't depend on what happened around them. It came from how they chose to respond. Epictetus put it clearly, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control and some are not, and what's always within our control is how we choose to think and act. So how can you choose happiness in your daily life? Here's what I do. I take responsibility. I don't look for excuses or blame others. And I always ask myself, what can I do to change this? I also set priorities. When I feel my internal compass losing direction, I ask myself, does this really matter for my happiness, or is it just noise distracting me? The answer isn't always easy, but believe me, it's worth asking the question. It helps you make decisions based on what you truly value, not what seems easiest in the moment. My friend, it's time to accept it. Happiness isn't a reward life gives you when everything falls into place. It's a daily choice. When you embrace this truth and decide to take control of your compass, something shifts. You stop waiting for others to make you happy and start building a life that truly makes sense for you. So are you ready to make that choice? Because in the end, happiness isn't something you find. It's something you choose. 8 changes inevitable. What do you do when life takes an unexpected turn? Maybe it's a change you didn't ask for, something that completely throws you off balance. In those moments, do you cling to what was, or do you embrace what's coming? Here's the truth you need to accept. Change is inevitable, and the more you resist it, the harder it will be to move forward. A study conducted by Stanford University exposed participants to simulated scenarios of change, such as losing a job or moving to a new city. The researchers analyzed how different people dealt with these situations. The results? Some saw these changes as threats or disasters, while others viewed them as opportunities for a better life. And guess who handled it better? Of course, those who saw change as a chance to grow. Not only did they adapt more easily, but they also experienced less anxiety and reported greater emotional well-being and satisfaction with their decisions. Change, my friend, is like a river. It's always moving, never staying the same. If you try to stop it, you'll end up exhausted and frustrated. But if you choose to flow with it, you can discover new currents, unexpected landscapes, even places you never imagined. Do you remember Bruce Lee? He summed it up brilliantly. Be like water, he said. Adapt to the shape of your container. Empty your mind. Be formless. If you put water in a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put it in a bottle, it becomes the bottle. Inspiring, isn't it? It's a reminder that embracing change doesn't mean giving up. It means learning to adapt and transform with your circumstances. Now tell me, how many times have you resisted change out of fear? Maybe you turned down an opportunity because it meant stepping out of your comfort zone. Or maybe you held on to a relationship, a job, or a place that no longer made you happy simply because it felt familiar. And what did that resistance give you? Spoiler, nothing but frustration and the weight of what could have been. The Stoics understood that change isn't something we can control, but it is something we can accept. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whatever happens, happens as it should." And if you observe carefully, you will find this to be so. This perspective doesn't just encourage us to accept change. It invites us to look for its purpose, to uncover the lessons that allow us to grow. Remember, change isn't the enemy. It's the process that allows us to evolve. Every transformation, no matter how uncomfortable, is a new page in the book of your life. Consider the word crisis. You might think it's a negative term, but do you know its origin? It comes from chrysalis. And a chrysalis is metamorphosis. It's transformation. It's growth. Think about it. If you look back on your life, it's not the things that stayed the same that define you. It's the changes you embraced and how you let them shape you. So, are you ready to flow like water? Because change, inevitable as it is, can be the greatest gift of your life if you choose to accept it. 9. Success requires sacrifices. Remember when I talked about responsibility? Well, success is very similar. Everyone wants it, dreams of it, idealizes it, but few are willing to give what it takes to achieve it. We all want the reward, of course. Who doesn't want recognition, wealth, maybe even fame? But paying the price, that's a different story, isn't it? And here's the hard truth. Success always requires sacrifices. Think about it for a moment. Success doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the result of tough decisions. Have you ever seen an iceberg? What your eyes can see is only the tip, but beneath the water is a much larger mass of ice that remains hidden. Success is the same. It's giving up hours of sleep to work on your goal. It's saying no to outings or distractions that don't bring you closer to what you want. It's accepting the moments of exhaustion, doubt, and frustration. It's waking up early when no one else is watching and continuing to work when others have already given up. It's sacrificing comfort and ease for something far greater, something that truly matters. Success, as the Stoics taught us, is not something that comes passively. Epictetus reminded us, nothing great is achieved without effort, and the greater the goal, the higher the price you must pay. This teaching captures the essence of sacrifice. If you're striving for something meaningful, you have to be willing to give up what holds you back, what distracts you, and what adds no value to your goal. Think of it this way. Success is like forging a sword. To create something strong and enduring, you first need to endure the fire, that heat, that constant hammering. Those are the sacrifices. Without them, what you create is fragile, unable to withstand the challenges ahead. Now tell me, are you willing to endure the fire to achieve what you truly want? If you're ready to accept this truth, here's what you can do. First, define what truly matters to you. You can't reach great goals if your energy is scattered on things that don't align with them. Ask yourself, does this bring me closer to or farther from what I want? Second, make a plan and stick to it. Consistency is the bridge between sacrifice and success. And third, every time the sacrifices feel too overwhelming, remind yourself why you started and where you want to go. Success isn't handed out, it's earned. And while the road may be full of sacrifices, it's also full of satisfaction. The Stoics teach us that true happiness comes from living a life of purpose and effort, not from avoiding challenges. So the next time you wonder if it's worth it, think about the sword. You're forging every strike counts. Are you ready to begin? 10. Make failure your friend. What if I told you that failure isn't your enemy, but one of your greatest allies? I know, it sounds strange, maybe even absurd. Who wants to fail, right? We're all chasing our goals like crazy, so why would failure be my friend? Here's a truth you need to hear. Without failure, there's no success. Don't see it as a roadblock that stops you, but as a teacher that guides you, showing you the lessons you need to grow. Let me tell you something. A few years ago, I started a project I was incredibly passionate about. I put all my energy into it. I made plans, designed strategies, and convinced myself that everything would go perfectly. But guess what happened? I failed. And not just a small failure. It was the kind that hits you hard, the kind that makes you question everything. I felt devastated, like all my effort had been for nothing. But after some time, I realized something. That failure was exactly what I needed. It showed me where I was going wrong, forced me to rethink my approach, and most importantly, it taught me resilience. How else was I supposed to learn what not to do if I hadn't tried in the first place? As Thomas Edison famously said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Edison, who revolutionized the world, understood that every mistake wasn't an obstacle. It was another step toward success. His story reminds us that failure doesn't define who you are. It defines how willing you are to keep trying, and that, my friend, is what makes you great. Failure is like a tough coach. It tests you, pushes you beyond your limits, and while it might knock you down, it does so to help you rise stronger. If you stay down, wallowing in regret, you miss the chance to learn. But if you get up, analyze what went wrong, and try again, every fall becomes an invaluable lesson. Now tell me, how many times have you held back from doing something because you were afraid to fail? How many opportunities have you let slip by because you thought the mistake would be too big? That fear doesn't just paralyze you. It robs you of the chance to discover everything you're capable of achieving. The Stoics taught us not to fear failure. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, failure isn't the end. It's the only path to success. If you want to make failure your friend, start by seeing it as a tool, not as a punishment. After every stumble, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What will I do differently next time? These questions help you lose the fear of failure and transform it into a force that drives you forward instead of holding you back. And remember, every time you fail, you're one step closer to discovering what truly works. Failure isn't your enemy. It's proof that you're trying, that you're moving, that you're willing to step out of your comfort zone in pursuit of something greater. So the next time you face failure, don't reject it. Welcome it. Because the more you make failure your ally, the closer you'll get to the life you want to build. 11. Escape the comfort zone. Do you know what the most dangerous place you can stay in is? Your comfort zone. Sounds ironic, doesn't it? After all, it's where you feel safe, where nothing puts you at risk. But here's the hard truth. As long as you stay in absolute comfort, nothing terrible may happen, but you also won't grow. It's cozy, sure, but it's like a ship anchored at the harbor. It's safe, but that's not what it was built for. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you wanted to try something new, but fear of change held you back? It's like a bird staying in its cage because it doesn't know what's outside. The cage is familiar and protective, but it also limits its chance to soar higher and explore new skies. What would become of a bird afraid to fly? A tragedy. And the same thing happens to you. As long as you stay in that safe space, not only will you stop moving forward, but you'll also start feeling trapped. A study by Yale University revealed something fascinating. People who regularly face situations outside their comfort zones experience significant increases in creativity, resilience, and personal satisfaction. In the experiment, participants were tasked with completely new and challenging activities, like learning a new language or solving complex problems under pressure. At first, many reported feeling uncomfortable and stressed, but over time they discovered something surprising. The more they faced challenges, the more confident they became in their abilities, and the more they valued the process. The Stoics deeply understood this principle. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul grows by expanding its limits." This teaching isn't just an invitation to overcome the fear of change. It's a reminder that growth happens when we push ourselves beyond comfort. Each time you face discomfort, you strengthen your character. Break the invisible chains holding you back and unlock parts of yourself you didn't know existed. Imagine for a moment that you're in a river. At the shore, the water is calm and safe, but it's also stagnant. If you move toward the center, the water gets faster, even a little dangerous. But that's where the current propels you forward, where you feel the movement, where you discover what it really means to flow with life. Your comfort zone is that calm shore, and as long as you stay there, you'll never feel the power of the current that can take you further. So, how do you break those invisible walls? Start small. You don't need to dive straight into the river, but you do need to take a step toward it. Do something that's always scared you, something that makes you a little uncomfortable. It could be as simple as signing up for a new class, speaking in public, or starting a difficult conversation. The trick isn't to eliminate fear, but to act despite it. Comfort is killing you slowly. It's like a warm shelter that, while cozy, keeps you from exploring the world. Leaving your comfort zone isn't easy, but it's necessary. Only by facing the unknown can you discover what you're truly made of. So, tell me, are you ready to take that first step and open the door? If your answer is yes, stay with me just a little longer, because now I'll share the ultimate truth you need to accept to move forward. 12. Your inner dialogue is your secret weapon. There's a voice inside you that never goes silent. That voice, which often whispers doubts, fears, and criticism, holds immense power. It can be your worst enemy or your greatest ally. And here's the truth you need to learn. The way you talk to yourself defines the direction your life will take. Imagine you have a personal coach with you 24 hours a day. If that coach constantly said, "You can't do it, you're not good enough," or "you always fail," how do you think you'd feel? That's the reality for many people. A constant internal dialogue full of negative judgments that sabotages them at every step. But here's the good news, you can change that voice. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca wrote, "Man suffers more in imagination than in reality." It's not external circumstances that destroy us, but what we tell ourselves about them. If you learn to train your mind, to speak to yourself with compassion and strength, you'll discover a powerful tool to overcome any obstacle. But what does science say about this? Is it just a feel-good idea? Absolutely not. A study conducted by the University of Michigan found that positive self-talk significantly reduces stress levels. The results were clear. Participants who approached tasks with encouraging self-talk performed better and experienced less anxiety than those who didn't pay attention to their internal dialogue. So, my friend, don't you think it's time to turn that inner voice into your greatest ally? Listen to how you talk to yourself. Identify the negative phrases you use when you fail or face a challenge. Then, replace them with more empowering statements. Instead of saying, "I can't," say, "I'm learning." Instead of "I always fail," say, "Every attempt gets me closer to success." It may sound simple, but this shift has a profound impact. Your inner dialogue isn't just background noise, it's the script that shapes your life. If you want a different ending, start writing it with words that empower you. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. I invite you to embrace each of these truths in your life. It won't be easy, but believe me, only then will you take one step closer to authentic and lasting happiness. Remember, it's not about avoiding pain, failure, or change. It's about learning to face them with courage and wisdom. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "The truth sets me free." That way, I'll know who the true Stoic warriors are who made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like so you don't miss out on what's coming next. I also invite you to check out our playlist, which you'll see on the screen. It's packed with ideas, stories, and advice to help you navigate life with more wisdom and confidence. Click it, and let's keep moving forward together. Until next time, take care and keep embracing your inner Stoic.